This may come as a surprise to anyone who has watched this channel before, but I'm a little bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I don't know what it is about this spiky blue smug little bastard, but I love him, and have ever since I was a wee little lad. But there's something I love even more than Sonic. Well, maybe not more, but equally the same. And that is, original IPs made by folks who were clearly inspired by Sonic. Like Dragon Ball, and really any influential piece of media really, Sonic the Hedgehog has inspired countless creators and consumers alike. We now live in a day and age where digital art has become more accessible for people like you and I, no longer gatekeeping the ability to create commercial products such as films, video games, animations, and more. And because of this, we've seen some incredible original Sonic-like franchises rise up from talented indie developers all around. From Galaxy Trail's Freedom Planet to Lake Thetford's Spark the Electric Jester series, to now a newcomer to the group, Avent Neon. Avent Neon is a fast-paced action platformer that combines elements of Sonic the Hedgehog, Mega Man, and Dragon Ball to create a yummy blend of originality, creativity, and imagination that is both something new and inspired, but also familiar and fun. Avent Neon feels like a game Sonic Team wanted to create if they weren't so afraid of being compared to Dragon Ball. Avent Neon knows this and embraces all of the things that it's inspired by with no shame, and delivers something that feels full of pride, ambition, and enjoyment. And best of all, it's created by CryoGX, a fellow black creator and indie developer. And while most of you are probably rolling your eyes at this sentiment, as a black creator myself, it's a pretty big deal when someone in a predominantly disadvantaged group of people does something cool like this, and it's surprisingly not at all common, at least not yet anyway. But we're working on it, one cotton field at a time. Anyway, Avent Neon, the game that says, what if the 2D Sonic Advance games were also fast-paced beat-em-ups? And to this I say, what a thrilling combination. In Avent Neon, you play as Neon, a young, hip, and cool green dude who is basically a robot with a living soul. Since the death of his creator, Neon travels the world of Neopolis in order to bring his creator back to life. There are over 5 hub worlds, each containing acts, in which take you to a new part of that biome, progress the story, and give you a rank at the end of your run. Is this sounding familiar at all? Good, because it's a familiar formula that fits perfectly for how this game works. While it is a 2D action platformer, the game's heart and soul is centered around its combat, which is a joy to play, might I add. It doesn't take very long to get used to, especially if you're a Sonic novice. The combat can be extremely fast sometimes, but also very fun and rewarding once you get a handle on its mechanics. Neon has your typical moveset of run, dash, light attacks, and heavy attacks that use up your gauge, as does the dash. The dash works like a parry, and activating it at the right time will cause everything to freeze up and stop in time, except for you, the player of course, who can deal double damage by attacking the enemy. As you run through each level, you'll collect these little green corn chips known as nodes. They have various functions, one of them being currency. You know, the thing you use to buy stuff and is getting harder to obtain in the US economy. Neon has a wide variety of upgrades, special abilities that can be toggled on and off, and various color schemes you can buy to really customize Neon and make him your own. Something that I think adds a lot of personality and interjection into the game. The other use of the green corn chips is that they fill up a percentage meter at the top of the screen. Reaching 100% unleashes Neon's, well, we'll call it super form for now. However, unlike in Sonic, in Neon's super form, you're not invincible. In fact, taking damage once or twice reverts you back to your base form. But don't let that deter you away though, as this is a great mechanic that incentivizes non-stop action, but also caution in your stage runs. While you probably can button mash your way through a decent portion of the game, learning the mechanics, enemies, bosses, and levels will make each playthrough all the more satisfying. In fact, that's how Avent Neon is meant to be played, by replaying levels and bosses over to either beat them or to master them. It's one of those games that you play each level over and over in order to learn its individual tricks and most efficient routes. It falls more into an arcade style type of game, and it nails this perfectly. Also, if you die, well, when you die, and trust me, it's inevitable, the game is extremely forgiving, and I found most checkpoints and stages were fairly placed, which made going through each level again all the more fun, as I knew exactly where to jump and when to strike. It became muscle memory after a while, and I found myself entering a flow-like state while playing the game at times. It's a perfect game to either sit down and play straight through, or pick up for a few minutes to either pass the time or get those dopamine levels up in your ever-dying brain. Each level, sub-boss, and level boss have their own unique challenges and gimmicks that I promise won't get boring on your first or second playthrough. Another thing I want to mention that's completely unrelated to gameplay is the Steven Universe inspirations. There's a lot of them, and I appreciate the cool spin on them and unique implementations throughout the game. From the art style to the characters, it feels like a highly stylized playable episode of Steven Universe. Anywho, so I've sucked off the game quite a bit now. I think it's time I talked about a few things I didn't exactly like or thought could be improved upon. For starters, the story. Now, video games in general don't really need to have a well-told, emotionally engaging story filled with character development, lore, and interesting backstories. But that's what I was hoping for in this game. While I enjoyed some of the characters' personalities and their designs, I felt overall both the characters and storyline were pretty lackluster. It was hard to care about what was happening in the game or any of the characters or their motivations. In fact, either I'm completely stupid, which is very likely in and of itself, or I'm a little lost when it comes to Avent Neon's plot. It felt like there was a lot of character and story context missing, like the creator knew what was going on but forgot to include the bits and details in the story that would have made things make more sense. I don't know, maybe I just missed something during the intense action and fast-paced gameplay. The other thing that didn't really catch on for me was part of the art style in the game's soundtrack. While the levels themselves were really cool and creative, the background environments felt kinda bland. With the lack of parallaxing and static backdrops, the world in which Neon traverses felt a little bit to be desired for. There were one or two areas that were actually really cool to experience, but you'll have to play the game to find out which ones they are. And trust me, you'll know exactly which ones they are. Also, the music didn't slap as hard as I thought it was going to. A few tracks actually stuck out to me, while the rest of them felt like something produced last minute in GarageBand in order to meet production deadlines. I have to say I'm very disappointed in this because, Avent Neon is a game that should have been destined for a killer soundtrack. Instead, it comes off rather amateurish and isn't very memorable as a whole, except for a few tracks here and there. To be fair though, the soundtrack does create an atmosphere for the game, but I think it could have been stronger and more emotionally impactful had Cryo outsourced this part of development. But I can't drill into these things too much, as CryoGX is an indie dev that made all of these things himself. Still, with the Kickstarter that surpassed its original goal, I do wish Cryo outsourced some of the things in the game. Not everything should be done solo, especially in an art form like game design, which is composed of multiple art forms into one, such as art, music, coding, writing, character design, scripting, you get the picture. Now, I know I just shit on the game a little bit, but as a whole, Avent Neon is well worth your time and money. There's so much passion poured into this project and a lot of fun and replayability to be had for this game. With that said, Avent Neon gets 7.5 stars out of 10. I definitely recommend checking it out and supporting an awesome indie dev on their quest and probably lifelong dream as a game developer. I hope you guys enjoyed this game review. It was a long time coming since I played the first demo years back, and I'm happy to see the game finally brought to life and put into the hands of a living, breathing audience. Congratulations to CryoGX and everyone who worked on and was a part of the game. If you're watching this, Cryo, I do wish you nothing but success on this franchise, and I will definitely be picking up Avent Neon 2 if a sequel ever does come out. At the very least, I hope you'll consider making plushies for Neon at some point. Anywho, go buy the game, give CryoGX money, and shoot him some positive reviews over on Steam. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.